6:45, this is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The news edited by Danushka Madhavala, read by Soundithavam. The railway strike has been called off. The President pays attention on strengthening of the health service of this country in order to face the innovative and technical challenges in the sector. A gazette issued pertaining to the new Anti-Corruption Act. The revised Anti-Terrorism Act to be gazetted within the next fortnight. The first evaluation of the IMF Extended Fund Facility will begin today. In foreign news, Vladimir Putin says military cooperation with North Korea a possibility. In sports, the Super 4 match between Sri Lanka and Pakistan of the Asia Cup 2023 will be played this evening in Colombo. The strike launched by the Locomotive Operating Engineers Association has been called off. The association said the strike was called off following productive discussions with railway authorities. The Locomotive Operating Engineers Association launched a strike on Tuesday. The strike was launched demanding the revision of the recruitment process and addressing delays in promotions, which, according to the protesting workers, have been pending for nearly 5 years, despite multiple requests. Due to the strike, several trains were cancelled for the past 2 days. Following a request made by the Minister of Transport, Bandula Guruvardhana, a Gazette Extraordinary was issued by the President, declaring the Sri Lanka Railways an essential service. Despite the Gazette, around 84 workers continued to engage in the strike as of last evening. However, the Railway Department directed the 84 railway workers who were on strike to report for duty immediately. The department said if they fail to report for work immediately, they will be considered as they have vacated their positions. President Ranil Wickremesinghe paid attention on strengthening of the health service of this country in order to face the innovative and technical challenges in the sector. The President made these comments at the opening ceremony of the new building known as Alfred House Wing of Durden's Hospital yesterday. The President also made the keynote address at the book launch titled Journey of Care. The President also requested the officials of the Durden's Hospital to take the initiative of moving forward with the support of new technology. The President also emphasized the importance of making use of technology to provide better service to the public in the health sector. An extraordinary gazette has been issued by the Minister of Justice, Prison Affairs and Constitutional Reforms, Dr. Vijayadasa Rajapaksa, pertaining to the new Anti-Corruption Act. Accordingly, as per the relevant gazette issued last Friday, the new act will be deemed effective from tomorrow. The new Anti-Corruption Act aims to enhance transparency in governance and public confidence in the government and to establish an independent commission to exercise and perform the powers and functions under the legislation. It also seeks to give effect to obligations under the UN Convention Against Corruption and any other international convention on prevention of corruption to which Sri Lanka is a party, and recognize international standards and best practices in order to establish a culture of integrity in Sri Lanka. Speaking at a press briefing regarding the new legislation recently, the minister explained that although the existing laws pertaining to bribery are only applicable to the public sector and politicians, the new Anti-Corruption Act will allow these laws to be enforced against the private sector as well. This news broadcast comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.
People's Bank Excelsior. Live the life you want.
The Minister of Foreign Affairs, Ali Sabri, officially announced that the revised Anti-Terrorism Act will be gazetted within the next fortnight. He was speaking at a press conference convened at the Presidential Media Centre under the theme A Collective Path Towards a Stable Nation. This significant legislative development has been amended in alignment with established international standards to ensure that it does not compromise the national security of the nation. On becoming law, the Anti-Terrorism Act will replace the Prevention of Terrorism Act, which was introduced in 1979 as a temporary measure but has been in force until this day due to the prolonged and escalating security challenges faced by our country. The Acting Minister of Finance, Dr. Ranjit Siambalapitiya, says that the first evaluation of the International Monetary Fund's $3 billion Extended Fund Facility will be done from today to the 24th of this month. The minister made these disclosures while speaking to the media after a program held in Yatiyantota recently. Accordingly, the minister said that a group of representatives of the International Monetary Fund will visit Sri Lanka to review the progress of the loan program, and several rounds of discussion will be held. The minister stated that he had made sincere efforts to make the program successful and said that he would be able to face the negotiation round successfully in the face of the situation, and that the final discussion would probably be held with the president. The minister also mentioned that the second tranche of the EFF facility will be received after the successful completion of the final discussion. That concludes local news.
People's Bank Excelsior, a comprehensive banking services package with a branded checkbook as well as debit and credit card exclusively for you. People's Bank Excelsior, for professionals who dare to dream.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Veda Mahatmya.
Members of the Sri Lanka India Society, comprising of Indian CEOs, are sure to promote further Indian investments as the time is ripe for expanding collaboration in several sectors. They stated this when they called on Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena at Temple Trees yesterday to discuss ways and means of expanding bilateral economic ties, including trade and investment. The Prime Minister, pointing out the growth in government-to-government development cooperation, thanked the Indian CEOs for their efforts to promote private sector Indian investments. That came to you in the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Veda Mahatmya.
On to Watchlight, according to a report published yesterday, the COVID-19 pandemic caused a sharp slowdown in the fight to end child poverty, with 333 million children in the world still living in extreme poverty. The report from the United Nations Children's Fund and the World Bank found that the pandemic led to the abolition of extreme poverty for 30 million fewer children than was previously predicted. As a result, about 1 in 6 children still live on less than $2.15 per day, according to the report, and came to you in Watchlight.
World News. Brought to you by courtesy of...
It's the power to live life your way. The power to be a trendsetter. Power to you with digital banking from Commercial Bank. Commercial Bank. Our interest is in you.
In world news headlines, Vladimir Putin says military cooperation with North Korea a possibility. 5,300 dead in Libya floods amid calls for humanitarian support. Senator Mitt Romney urges Biden and Trump to stand aside for 2024. North Korea's Kim Jong-un has met Vladimir Putin in Russia in a highly scrutinized visit, which is expected to yield an arms deal. After talks ended at the Vostochny Space Center, Mr. Kim began his long journey home on his private armored train, Russian state media reported. Speaking later on Wednesday, Mr. Putin said the pair discussed possibilities for military cooperation. Moscow has indicated it will help Pyongyang develop satellites in return. Both sides denied the U.S. claim that the talks are aimed at buying weapons to support Russia's war against Ukraine. Besides advanced space technology, Mr. Kim is also thought to have asked for food aid in return. The meeting between the two sanctioned regimes, which included senior officials from both sides, took place at a time when their relations with the West are at an all-time low. The high-profile visit saw Mr. Kim, who travelled for 2 days to Russia's Far East, warmly received by Mr. Putin. More than 5,300 people are believed to have died after floods in the Libyan city of Derna, an official has said. There have been desperate calls for humanitarian support as victims lie wrapped in body bags and others have been buried in mass graves. A tsunami-like river of flood water swept through Derna on Sunday after a dam burst during Storm Daniel. Rescue teams are digging through the rubble of collapsed buildings in the hope of finding survivors, but hope is waning and the death toll is still expected to rise further. Officials say at least 10,000 people are missing, while 30,000 people are estimated to have been displaced. The United Nations International Organization for Migration in Libya said on Wednesday, morgues and hospitals have been overwhelmed with bodies. U.S. Senator and former presidential hopeful Mitt Romney has called for Donald Trump and Joe Biden to stand aside and make room for new generations of politicians. He made the comments while speaking to media about his own plans to retire. He said he was choosing not to run again because it was time for a new generation of leaders. Mr. Romney, 76, has had a 20-year career in U.S. politics, including a 5-year stint as governor of Massachusetts. In recent years, the prominent Republican has become a vocal critic of both Mr. Biden and Mr. Trump. He will remain in office until the end of his Senate term in January 2025. In a video announcing his choice not to run again, posted on social media on Wednesday afternoon, Mr. Romney suggested that age played a role in his decision. Back to the headlines of the world news. Vladimir Putin says military cooperation with North Korea a possibility. 5,300 dead in Libya floods amid calls for humanitarian support. And Senator Mitt Romney urges Biden and Trump to stand aside for 2024. That concludes this bulletin of world news.
World News. Brought to you by courtesy of...
This message is for all the kids between the ages of 4 and 16 who love to draw. Commercial Bank's Arunalu Sittam is back once again. This time, the competition is also open to Sri Lankan kids currently living abroad. First, second and third place prizes will be awarded along with special merit and merit certificates. For more information, visit the Commercial Bank website. We have so many prizes to be won.
Development News.
The Australian High Commissioner to Sri Lanka, Paul Stephens, in collaboration with the Tertiary Vocational Education Commission, launched the district skills development plans supporting tourism development with representatives from the district secretariats of Anuradhapura and the Matale districts. The skills development plans have been developed by industry and government stakeholders under the leadership of the district government agents with technical support from the Australian aid-funded Skills for Inclusive Growth program. That's development news. And moving on to sports. The Super 4 match between Sri Lanka and Pakistan of the Asia Cup 2023 will be played today in Colombo. The match will be played at the Colombo R. Premadasa Stadium as a day and night encounter. Meanwhile, Ben Stokes was due to be playing golf this week. When he was still a former member of England's one-day team, Stokes was scheduled to be part of the BMW PGA Championship at Wentworth beginning on Thursday. Instead, with his one-day retirement over, Stokes was teeing off on the New Zealand bowling attack, smashing 182 to break the record for the highest score by an England batter in an ODI. That's sports news.
Go ekakthiyana youth eකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න ඇස් වහගෙන දැකපු වීන හැබැ කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න friendship එක මෙන්න. The all new NSB Ithru Mithru account NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
Business News. Sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
France has ordered Apple to stop selling the iPhone 12 for emitting too much electromagnetic radiation. On Tuesday, the French watchdog which governs radio frequencies also told the tech giant to fix existing phones. The ANFR has advised Apple that if it cannot resolve the issue via a software update, it must recall every iPhone 12 ever sold in the country. But the World Health Organization has previously sought to allay fears about radiation emitted by mobile phones. It says on its website there is no evidence to conclude that exposure to low-level electromagnetic fields is harmful to humans. That's business news, economic news up next.
Business News. Sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Go ekakthiyana youth එකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න ඇස් වහගෙන දැකපු වීන හැබැ කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න friendship එක මෙන්න. The all new NSB Ithru Mithru account NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
On to economic news. Minister Kanchana Wijayasekara said that the Ministry of Power and Energy has decided to revise fuel prices automatically from next year. The minister expressed his views regarding the relevant decision in a discussion held with the Ceylon Petroleum Corporation and the CPC Dealers Association at the Ministry of Power and Energy yesterday. The minister discussed issues relating to the settlement of the ongoing lawsuits regarding dealer margins, distribution of fuel, future developments, new fuel stations to be established and the sale of lubricants. Also, Minister Vijay Sekara briefed the dealers on the plans of the CPC to automate all fuel dispensing, stock-taking facilities with new equipment and to implement a daily automated price revising system from next year. That's economic news.
Weather report.
Showers will occur at times in the western and Sabragama provinces and in the Puttalam, Kandy, Nuwara Eliya, Galle and the Mathura districts. A few showers may occur in the Hambantota and Kurunegala districts. Showers or thundershowers may occur at a few places in the Uva province and in the Batticaloa and Ampara districts during the evening or night. Fairly strong winds, also about 40 to 45 kilometers per hour, can be expected at times in the western slopes of the Central Hills, northern, north central and northwestern provinces, and also in Trincomalee and Hambantota. Back to the headlines of the news to conclude. The railway strike has been called off. The President pays attention on strengthening of the health service of this country in order to face the innovative and technical challenges in the sector. A gazette issued pertaining to the new Anti-Corruption Act. The revised Anti-Terrorism Act to be gazetted within the next fortnight. The first evaluation of the IMF Extended Fund Facility will begin today. Vladimir Putin says the military cooperation with North Korea a possibility. The Super 4 match between Sri Lanka and Pakistan of the Asia Cup 2023 will be played this evening in Colombo. That concludes this morning's news broadcast. And well, it's back to your hostess Geetanjali to continue adding sunshine and warmth over the airwaves of Radio Sri Lanka on an overcast Thursday morning. A very good morning to you, Geetanjali, and it's all yours. Back to you.